Hello guys, I'm here for my review of Starrcade 1999. I only have one more of these to go, and it won't be pretty because this one's not pretty. The past two Starrcades, you could say WCW, and the finale of Starrcade, which is 2000, oi. Anyway, Starrcade 99, December the 18th, 1999, from the MCI Center in Washington, D.C. There are 12 matches on this card, so we have a 60 max. 60 is the maximum star rating. It don't get anywhere close to that. It doesn't even get half of that. Spoiler alert for upcoming stuff. But our opening match is Disco Inferno and Lash LeRoux versus Big Vito and Johnny the Bull. This is a fairly good match. It's a basic tag match, but given this card, that's good enough, and it's a 2-star match with Big Vito and Johnny the Bull winning. So, 2 stars. Then we go downhill drastically. Next match is the WCW Cruiserweight Championship match. Evan Karagis versus Medusa, who WCW was trying to turn into China. By making her wrestle guys. She was in the WCW Championship Tournament leading into Mayhem 99. And all of this, she was in it twice. Here she's challenging Evan Karagis. And she wins following a low blow from Spice the Nitro Girl on a German suplex. She would lose the title the very next month to Oklahoma and not be seen again until Fall Brawl 2000. There's nothing here. No stars here because there's nothing of note here. So, next match is WCW Hardcore Championship match. Screamin' Norman Smiley versus Ming. It's 0 stars. And it is essentially it's essentially the kind of hardcore match you expect out of Norman Smiley in WCW. Ming dominates and Norman gets a fluke win. Now, don't get me wrong here. I like Screamin' Norman Smiley. I like the character. But the way they booked him in hardcore matches made him look credible, and thus it was weird. But I liked the character, though. I thought he was mildly entertaining as a character. But no stars here either. So our next match is an 8-man tag that they booked like a handicap match. As it's the Revolution versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan and his mystery partners, the Varsity Club. Kevin Sullivan, Mike Rotundo, and Rick Steiner. Here's why I say they booked this like a handicap match, a 4-on-1 handicap match. That's probably what they should have made it. By the way, couple stipulations here. If Hacksaw Jim Duggan and his partners won, the Revolution had to take over the janitorial duties of WCW, but if the Revolution won, Hacksaw Jim Duggan would have to denounce the United States of America the next night on Nitro. Here's why I say this is booked like a 4-on-1 handicap match. Hacksaw Jim Duggan never tags in his partners. You know, and it's like, well, if he didn't want them, then why bother? He keeps them all on the apron. And they wanted to get in, they handed the tag out. You know, they were handing their hand out, wanting to be tagged. Duggan didn't tag them. He wanted to try to do everything on his own, and the Varsity Club eventually turned on Duggan. That's, honestly, if you're talking about me, I would do that if I had a partner who didn't want to team with me. I don't care whether face or heel. If they didn't want to tag me in, I wouldn't bother with it. And the Revolution then when Shane Douglas, who wasn't even the legal man in the ring, pins Jim Duggan. So, no stars there. See a trend. Next match, Vampiro versus Dr. Death Steve Williams. And if Vampiro won, he got 5 minutes in the ring of Oklahoma. I'm giving this match half a star because it is essentially... This whole thing is essentially one big half-star match. A quarter-star for Vampiro Dr. Death and a quarter-star for the Vampiro Oklahoma beatdown, so it's a half a star there. Dr. Death wins by DQ. and then Oklahoma gets offense in on Vampiro, and but Vampiro wins the abbreviated match. Which I guess technically is a match, but I'm not counting it. I'm counting all of this as one thing, and it's half a star for both of them. So the next match is a 6-man tag match to determine the #1 contenders for the WCW Tag Team Championships. As it's Creative Control and Curt Hennig versus Harlem Heat and Midnight, or specifically Booker T and Midnight, because Stevie Ray, did not show up initially, but he did eventually come to the ring. So, again, another tag match booked like a handicap match, and Creative Control and Curt Hennig win. Half star for this match. Half a star. Just because it's not as bad as it could have been, but it definitely wasn't good. So our next match is a Bunkhouse Brawl. Jeff Jarrett versus Dustin Rhodes. Why is it not a surprise that Jeff Jarrett is in a gimmick match at a WCW pay-per-view? Did he ever have a non-gimmick match at a pay-per-view? The only non-gimmick matches that come to my mind at a pay-per-view he was at was like Super Bowl 2000, which was a triple threat match, Spring Stampede, which was a tournament final, any other tournament matches in it, or just was a world title match. The Great American Bash, Bash at the Beach, and New Blood Rising. And technically Halloween Havoc, and I guess you can count Mayhem. The majority of his matches were gimmick matches for some reason. Guess because there was a reason for him to use the guitar. Not as bad as it could have been. 1.5 stars. Definitely improvement on what we've seen in this show. So the next match, a crowbar on a pole match, as it's Diamond Dallas Page versus David Flair. The star rating for this is 2 things. Number 1, it gets a 1/4 star because it tells a decent little story of how maybe David Flair's not as crazy as everyone thought. Because right after Halloween Havoc, DDP injured Ric Flair with a crowbar, and it appeared to drive David Flair nuts. And he had this match with Kimberly that wasn't a match. But he comes in and cracks Page before the match starts. So that part of the storytelling is good in it. And honestly, this is the best David Flair looked in terms of offense. He still was a garbage wrestler, but this was probably his best offensive thing he's ever had in a very short match. So it's a half star. It's a 1/4 star, both those things, giving it a half a star, with DDP winning with the Diamond Cutter. Next match, Sting versus the Total Package, and if Sting wins, Elizabeth is free. But there was a swerve that Sting saw coming. Sting technically wins by DQ because he's going for the Deathlock, and then Elizabeth cracks him in the face with the baseball bat. Sting would be off TV until uncensored, when he fought the Total Package again in a Lumberjack cast match. So, next match. And by the way, that's a half a star for Sting in the Total Package. Next match, a powerbomb match. Sid Vicious versus Kevin Nash. This match is not good. There's a rep bump. Sid does the powerbomb. Jarrett comes in, whacks Sid with a guitar, and then probably the single dumbest thing I've ever seen in a match happens. As Kevin Nash can't do the powerbomb because his back's out. He wakes the referee up, and he goes, "I powerbombed him. I powerbombed him." And the referee believes it. So it's like the referee's taking the wrestler's word for something now. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Because it shows you how dumb they made this referee look. Now, granted, this is Slick Johnson, the referee that Jeff Jarrett had in his back pocket for the early part of 2000. But any normal referee would ask the fans, even if that's not valid. So this finish is just bogus to me, because you're making Kevin Nash be the master of the powerbomb, yet he never used it in a powerbomb match. So, no stars. Next match, the best match on this show. Ladder match, United States Championship, for the United States Championship. Chris Benoit versus Jeff Jarrett. Chris Benoit was going to go to face Scott Hall. Scott Hall was injured. Benoit was given the title, but he didn't want to be given it, so he issued an open challenge for anyone to meet him in a ladder match for the title. Jarrett answered, and they have probably the best match on this card. And that is saying something, because this card is full of garbage. And before that, the best match on here before that was the Disco Inferno match. So, Benoit won. There was one time when he had Jarrett down and was touching the title, and instead of doing that, he jumped off the ladder in one of those spots where, you know, wrestling's scripted. Because logically, why would he not get the title when he's up there touching it? Why would he instead do a diving headbutt? He then, after doing the headbutt, climbs back up the ladder and pulls the title down. So, it was weird, but it's a 3-star match. Of course, Benoit would lead the company the very next month after they gave him the WCW Championship. So, the final match here, no disqualification match for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship match. Bret the Hitman Hart defending against Goldberg. This is a half-a-star match. And it's primarily because of how infamous this match is. This was Bret Hart's final match ever on a pay-per-view. And it's due to a kick from Goldberg. Whether he botched it or not, there's people who quite argue me that it was a botch. And Goldberg didn't necessarily botch it. Well, he did because he mistimed the kick. You know, the kick he was trying to do requires him to be halfway across the ring so he can set it up properly where his foot actually won't hit Bret's head. So, it actually did hit Bret's head, and Bret had to retire due to serious concussions because of it. And then they do this screw job finish, and Bret Hart wins that way. So, yeah. In case you're wondering, the total, this is the lowest rating this is the lowest rating any Starrcade, heck, or, well, any video in this series, and it's one of the lowest events I've ever given, I believe, as its total stars is 9 out of a possible 60. That's not even 1/6. That's not even a sixth of the actual total stars. It's right out of it, but it definitely is not a good show. It's 9 out of a possible 60. Starrcade 2000 will be next, and at least I know one thing about watching Starrcade 2000. It's got a legit classic ladder match on it. That's about all it's got going for it, but it's there. This will be in the this will be in the Starrcade review playlist. If you like the video, hit the like button down there, hit the subscribe button down there. If you want to, leave a comment, and thank you for watching. Bye.